up? Welcome back to the channel, The Virtual Wholesalers. We're so excited for this video today. We really wanted to put this out because we know a lot of people are kind of on a budget, especially when you first get into wholesaling, and the marketing budget, can make you or break you. So in this video, Adam's gonna walk you through how to apply the 80-20 rule in your business by
pulling out the cash sales in the hottest zip codes in your area.
Stay tuned. He's actually gonna walk you through on his computer step by step how to find these in list source. So this is a video you do not want to miss today.
Yeah, if you guys have not already subscribed, before we get into the video, please hit the subscribe button. We put out content weekly about our own wholesaling business, what's working in our business, what's not working. So if you have not subscribed, please hit the button. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. If you guys have ever been interested in being more productive or managing your time better, there's probably a good chance that you have come across this rule or you have heard some version of it. I'm talking about the Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule. Not familiar with it. In a nutshell, it states that 20% of your activities or what you do produce 80% of the results. This rule, if you start looking around, it's applicable pretty much in any area of your life. I mean, if you look at the clothes that you wear, for instance, you probably wear 20% of the clothes in your closet 80% of the time. It also applies to like content or books that you're reading. Usually about 20% of the pages or 20% of the content that you're watching holds like 80% of the value in that particular situation. So basically, I mean, the principle is just applicable over many areas of your life. If you know where to look and you start looking for it, you will start seeing it appear more often. If you start to look around in your life, you will really see this rule or this principle start to become way more visible in your life, especially in business. If you're trying to optimize or be more efficient, you're gonna really want to take a deep dive and look at the activities and what you're doing in your business and making sure that what you're doing is producing the most results. And then you want to double down on what's producing the most results and kind of lay off or start weeding out what's not producing results or is not beneficial or efficient in your business. I do want to emphasize that the rule is not absolute in that it is always going to be 80%, 20%. It's not always going to be like that. In different situations, it could be 70-30. It could be 60-40, it could be 90-10. The point is the majority of the results that you get come from a small amount of what you do. And in the wholesaling world, a lot of times you will find that a majority of the actual cash sales or the investor activity actually comes from a really small amount of the total amount of zip codes in a particular area. Use this particular rule when we are opening up into a new market or doing market research. Instead of just going into a new market, spraying the whole market, hitting every single address, we take a way more targeted approach, which I'm about to go over in this video. We pull out the zip codes that have the most activity, the most cash sales, or offer us the highest probability of actually moving the deal, and we will start there. We will start targeting those first because obviously statistically they are going to give us the best chance to move our deal and to get the deal done. I mean, it makes no sense to go over the whole area if nobody is really buying in certain zip codes. So really you want to take this rule and you want to apply it and look in the area of where the buyers, the investors, the people that are flipping houses, where are they buying at? And it's usually universal in the wholesale world. Pretty much every city that I look at, you'll see that there's a high concentration of cash sales in like 5 to 10 particular zip codes in that area, and then it kind of trickles down and falls off, the lower that you get. But it's very good to keep an eye on it. You definitely want to look at it, and it really just makes much more sense to take a more targeted approach, especially at the beginning.
And that can change. I mean, that can change in each market. So it's important that you're constantly doing market research to see where people are buying, because year to year and sometimes even month to month, you can see the changes and the trends of where cash buyers are wanting to purchase deals. So
yeah, we run this. Sometimes we run it quarterly, but it's usually once or twice a year that we actually run it, and then we reassess. It's not usually a very drastic change as far as what the cash buyers are buying in as far as the zip codes, because once something's up and coming, it usually stays that way for a while. So it's not a huge drastic change, but it is something that we do keep an eye on. We are really into the science behind business and numbers, and targeting an area or targeting specific zip codes should be no difference. There should really be a formula in the way that you do it and the process that you are following to make sure that especially if you're on a tight budget in wholesaling, which a lot of people are at the beginning, especially in that particular situation. There's really no point in targeting zip codes that nobody wants to buy anything in. You need to apply the rules, see where the most activity, the most cash sales in the area is. Follow the 80-20 rule or the Pareto principle in that, and hone in on those particular zip codes and really attack those. Instead of buying leads that in zip codes that nobody is buying in, pull this principle out, apply it, and then buy all the leads in the hottest zip code. Just starting out, especially not only about money, but also about time. If you're cold calling, why in the world would you want to waste time cold calling an entire zip code where nobody is going to want the property if you get it under contract? So you just burn up all of this time they've been spending it way more efficiently and just gotten way more value at it if you spend all that time targeting on the actual zip codes, the 2 or 3 or 4 zip codes that are the hottest in the area. Just target those. Spend all your time, especially at the beginning if you're doing this part-time or you work another job. It really does not make sense. It's not very efficient with your time to go target something that nobody's buying in. So being busy and being productive are absolutely not the same thing. From experience, I can tell you if you're not applying this principle in your life, there's a good chance that you are really just being busy and not productive. Once you start to implement this and once you start to look at life from a slightly different angle and start looking at what you're doing and what's producing the results, you'll be able to see that you can actually accomplish more and you can do more by actually doing less. You don't have to do as much. If you look at this from a scientific way, you look at the numbers, you analyze the data, you can really accomplish a lot more by doing a lot less and spending a lot less time on it. Anyway, enough of this. Let's go ahead and get into actually how the exact way of how we actually pull the zip codes and the way that we look at it and the way that we target it. So let me turn this around. I will get onto my computer and I will show you. All right, so this is the exact process that we use to go in and pull out all of the top performing zip codes in an area. This is how we gather the data, and then we apply the 80-20 rule after this. But the first thing you're going to go do is you go to listsource.com, and if you do not already have an account, you're going to need to sign up for an account. We are not purchasing anything. We are just going to export some data out of here, so you do not have to worry about purchasing anything, but you do actually have to create an account. So once you sign up, it will bring you, the first thing you do, it opens up into this page. You're going to want to go and click on the Create Your Own tab. And once it pulls up, this screen will pull up. You're going to want to choose the geography. In our particular case, we use what is known as the MSA, which means that we pick our particular home city or the actual city that we live in. But we also like to gather the data on all the little towns around us, the suburbs around us. So MSA will do that. It'll give you a wide area. Some people choose to just go hyper local to the actual city that they live in. We live in a pretty big area and we like to cover a pretty big area, so we do choose the MSA, but that's completely up to you. So let me go in here and do that. So you would scroll right here to MSA. Pick whatever state that you are in. And then it populates all this. And there we are, Jacksonville MSA. You would just look through here for wherever your city is and click that. Click the add button. The next tab that you are going to want to go do is you go to the property tab, which is up here, and you are going to want to pick equity percentage. We always look for the people with 100% equity. Those are going to be usually the people that have bought the houses with cash in that time frame, whatever time frame we choose. We pick a year, but you're always going to want to pick 100% equity. Click add. We run our data from the last year, or we look at the last year, so you're going to pick last market sale date. And then they already have in the preset selections down here, you can pick if you run it by 6 months or by 12 months. We do 12, so you would click 12, click add. And then you want to go back into the main tab, and you want to go under property type. And then at this point, you have a bunch of options. If you are specifically targeting townhouses, you would obviously click townhouse. If you're going after multifamily, multifamily. We are looking For our particular case, we are looking for single family houses. That's what we target. So we would click add. If you want to look at like a general overall picture of what all the activity is, you would obviously pick all of the ones that you're looking for: townhouse, multifamily, mobile home, land. But for this particular case, we are going to use single family residence. We've clicked add. And then after this, you go over to the options tab. We are going to pick absentee owned. Like I said before, these are usually the investors or the landlords, the people that are buying fix and flips or buy and holds. They are usually always going to be absentee, and they also usually pay cash, which is why we chose the 100% equity tab. Trustee owned properties, we just leave it on no preference. Corporate owned, we do switch that to no preference because you do want to pick up a lot of investors. They will buy properties in their LLC, so you definitely want to see that. So make sure you click no preference there. And then mailing address complete. And then you're going to go over here to purchase list. You do not actually purchase this list. It is just going to get us to where we can email some data to ourselves. So click on the purchase list. And then you will want to click on the purchase partial list tab, which is right there. And you're going to want to click custom selection. And then it'll tell you group properties. Open that tab and you want to group them by zip code. And what this is going to do is it's going to break all the actual cash sales or the 100% equity sales in each particular zip code. It breaks them down and spits out that data so we can actually use it and run some formulas and look at the data. So at this point, it's all you do is hit export. And then you will type in wherever you want to send it. I have already sent this to myself, so I'm not going to resend it, but normally you would just put in your email address. We usually put in cash sales for Jacksonville, Florida as of, and then we put the date just so we know exactly when we pulled the data. And then you would hit submit and it would send it to you, but I have already sent it. So let me go over here and grab this out. There we go. All right, so here's what it looks like when you open it up out of your email. These are the total number of sales with 100% equity over the last year in our area and in our surrounding area. But what you're going to do, I usually just delete these out so it's a little easier for you to work with. All right, so you will want to highlight, here are all the zip codes, and then here are all the cash sales that have shown up. So you'll want to highlight all of the cash sales, and then you sort them by descending. So you can clearly see there were 205 cash sales in zip code 32240 or 32244. There was 188 sales in 32210, 181 in 09, and so on. But I'm going to switch this over to a percentage so it's easier for us to look at, and I will show you a couple things. Just give me 1 second. So if you're wanting to do this, you would click into this tab right here. I'm on a Mac on numbers. I'm not sure if you're on Microsoft. You use Excel. I believe the formulas are fairly similar, but I'm not 100% sure, so you'll just have to kind of figure it out. But anyway, you hit the equal sign, and then you are going to want to grab that first tab with the cash sales right there. So highlight that, and then you divide it by the total number of sales, in that area. So you would click that. And we are going to run this formula all the way down. So in order to do that on numbers, you insert the dollar signs, and that will keep that particular formula the same. I believe it's the same on Excel. I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe it's the same. And then it will convert this over. We grab this, drag it all the way down to make sure that the formula goes all the way down. And then we also, this is a percentage, but I'm going to make it to where it's easy for us to actually see it. So you will go over here, click percentage, and then there we go. All right, so you can clearly see that 6% of all the sales in our area came at a 32244. And then you can, if you scroll to the bottom, you can easily see that some of these zip codes on here have 0% or not even 1% of the total number of sales. So I would 100% obviously not want to be marketing to them, especially if you're new. I mean, you can clearly see there's a disproportionate amount of cash sales that happen at the top of this sheet versus the bottom of this sheet. I mean, there were 2 cash sales or 2 sales with a 100% equity in 322 and 32666. So there's really just, it does not make sense for you to be marketing there. You should really target up here. I mean, you can clearly see, let's highlight this. That's 20% of all the total sales in our area came from the top 4 zip codes in our area, and there's 58 zip codes. So there's really, I mean, if you just focus on those top 4, you would literally be getting 20% of the actual volume in our city. All right, so as you can see on the spreadsheet, there are some zips in our own particular market that it would absolutely make 0 sense for us to market to. So, I mean, you just, especially if you're a one-man operation or you're a small operation, I would highly suggest you start taking and implementing this rule or this way of looking at things into your life. That way you can kind of figure out, you know, what piece of your business and what areas that you're working in, which ones make the most sense, and you can double down on them, and then you can start to weed out some of the ones that do not really make sense, or, you know, it just is a waste of your time. I mean, the last thing you want to do is have a time suck or a money suck in this business, especially when you're new. I mean, once you go out and you've gotten a couple deals done, a couple deals under your belt, and you're like, hey, you know, I want to go after the whole city. Maybe go back and you can look at the data again and decide if it's going to make sense financially for you, if it's going to make sense time-wise for you, and then you could actually make an educated decision at that point if you want to push all the way in through the whole city. Because I can tell you, you know, statistically and looking at the numbers, if you're going after like the back half of the city, it's not going to make as much sense as it does going after the top half. But if you're looking to squeeze every deal out of a market, you know that is something that you're going to have to do, and you're just going to have to be okay with it not being as much of a return, you know, on the back end as it would have been on the high end or the zip codes that are producing the most results. So anyway, guys, I hope this video added some value to you, or maybe it sheds some light on what you guys should be doubling down on, or what you should be actually eliminating as well. If it did have value, please give us a thumbs up, and we will catch you guys next week. See ya.
Bye.